2004, I just did Sumia album, sold 25,000 copies or 30,000 copies. So this is 300,000 euros. I just did my album, 30,000 copies, another 300,000 euros. So back in the days, we're still selling CDs. And I did the Eligio's album, 10,000 copies. Boom. Another 100K. And Tia's album, another 10,000 copies, more or less. Another 100K. So we're talking about 800K for the company, of course. 800K that is going to be used to, get some money, generate copyright money, and also pay for the tours, pay for this, and bolster the catalog, etc. But we generated all that money, and at that time, my label Sushiro is the number one label. It's the number one label in the Caribbean space, in the Afro-Caribbean music. Everybody want to sign to my label, and yeah, Sushiro is the place. But everybody's complaining about something, and me, I'm like, listen, I do music with people based on the talent and the possibility to generate something interesting. I don't care where they come from. But I hear people say, yeah, but yo, where are the Congolese people? Like, why don't you sign Congolese people? And I tell people, listen, I sign people because of talent, not because of where they're from. And I hear another side of people saying, yeah, but how you doing? You have a Zouk label, Kizomba label, and there's nobody from the West Indies in this label. And me, I'm like, guys, I don't care. Like, I'm just doing music. Why are you talking to me about nationalities? And this is when I have this girl that I was dating, more or less, and she talks to me about her cousins, who are one of her cousins who make beats. He would love to come to the studio and meet me. So I'm like, yeah, bring him to the studio. She brings him to the studio. Two young cats, good looking, tall, coming from the West Indies. And I'm like, yo, I can smell. I'm like, whoa, these guys are hot. I signed them right away. Boom. And they're from the West Indies. Now I can say I have my first group from the West Indies. So I put them in one compilation, start creating the buzz around them, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna create the buzz for 1 year, and in exactly 1 year, boom, I released the album. So that group was named ABG. And I start working on their first album. On the first album, I bring all my people. I bring Jean-Michel Rotin, I bring Linsha, Princess Lover, like Sumia. I bring everybody. I put them in featuring in all the albums, and like, I'm ready. There's a big buzz, and because I have the number one label at that time, everybody in the West Indies is excited about the idea that I'm gonna have my first French West Indian group coming from my label. So people from the West Indies are super excited. Radios are excited. Everybody is going crazy. People who listen to the first few songs, they're like, oh my God, he's gonna kill everybody. Oh. This is the ABG was the name. So let me show you. ABG. That's the name of the group. That's the name of the first album. I did a cover myself, as always. Spotify. There you go. This is the name of the first album, C'est Nous-Mêmes. 17 tracks, and the second album is this one. ABG, that's the name of the album, the group. And so listen, I give them the Sushiro treatment, meaning that take them to my photograph, good photos, go buy them some clothes, put them in all the singles here and there so that people already know the name. We do the song I Like It. And listen, no, I Like It was on the second album. But listen, it's the buzz around the album is like you've never seen. Everybody is waiting for this album. So I look at my partner and I'm like, so what do you think? He's like, yo, from what I'm hearing in the streets, these guys are gonna outsell you. I'm like, yo, what, you think so? Yeah. They're doing 50K. Because the way everybody's talking about this album, yeah, we're doing 50K. Like, yeah, listen, get ready. We're gonna do 500K in euros. And yeah, this is gonna be, once we paid all the expenses, this is gonna be 200K for you, that's for sure. Because this is madness. Like the way people are talking about these guys, we have to already organize the tours, all that stuff. Me, I'm like, all right, let's go. And hi, I'm the internet. Listen, the internet said hi. I'm the internet. The same era when this album came out was the moment where the internet became ubiquitous in France, meaning that back in the days you had 1 gigabyte of internet, and if you used more than 1 gigabyte, you had to pay for every extra gigabyte. I think maybe it was 100 megabytes, and the internet was slow and it was limited. And at the same time, you had, when I released my first album, there was no way to copy CDs. If you wanted the original, you had to buy the cassette or the album in 98. Now in 2004, and the internet, for a few months, there's a company called Free in France. And at that time, this company is putting advertisement everywhere saying for 29 euros, so it's like $32, you have unlimited internet, no bandwidth, no capping, nothing. Unlimited internet at high velocity. That's 2004. And the ad is like, oh, téléchargez ce que vous voulez. Download everything you want. That was the ad. So anyway, be a pirate. At the same time, you have the Kaysha, the Lime Warriors, the Napsters, the Mega Upload that are just, especially Mega Upload is like becoming like this big site. But even worse than that, at the same time, you have MSN Messenger that add a new feature called file sharing inside of the message. And they changed the file sharing to, so it used to be you could send like 100 kilobytes, and now they change it to 5 megabytes. So today you can send gigabytes by WhatsApp, but at that time you could send up to 5 or maybe more. Maybe it was like 20. Yeah, I think it was 20 megabytes. 20 megabytes as a file sharing. So we released the album like, yo, let's go. Let's go. And when the album comes out, nothing happens in terms of sales. Nothing like, and we don't understand because the guys look good. They're from the West Indies. Everybody was crazy about the album. Blah, blah, blah. So they support their own. That's what I'm saying to myself. And I'm like, this is gonna go down in history like, yeah. And somehow, no sales. So I go to Instagram. I go to the forums because maybe people, when you do an album, at that time when you did an album, the first buyers were making the market. The first 1,000 people who bought the album would be going online and say, this album is amazing. Oh my God, I've been crying all night. And they will push everybody else to go out their house, because at that time, to listen to music, you had to go out of your house and listen and go buy the CD and then come back in your house. So people had a little more respect for music because they had to do some effort to get it. And those first 1,000 listeners would decide of the fate of your album. And usually if the first 1,000 people loved it, they would be very vocal on the forums, on MySpace, on Skyblog, on High Five, and then everybody else would come the second day. Like another 2,000-3,000 people would come on the first week, and you would know, okay, we have 3,000 sold already. And you would receive calls from the Virgin Megastore, Fnac, all these places where CDs are sold, and they would tell you, hey, I need an extra 100 for this store. I need 150 for this store. And then all right, listen, you would call the factory and tell them, hey, print another 2,000 because I guess we're gonna do 5,000. And then you go until you reach 10,000, 20,000, etc. And here, nothing. So I go to the forums. And you know what people were saying in the forums? People were saying, this album is amazing. This album is sick. This album is crazy. So me, I was like, I don't understand. Everybody's saying the album is crazy. But then I start seeing the response of everybody. Everybody was saying, yo, this album seems amazing. And instead of saying, tomorrow I'm buying it, they were saying, hey, who has the album? This is my MSN. And people were doing so. So I go on MSN, and the people who bought the first album, the first 1,000, they were like, yo, I have the album, it's amazing. Get back at me if you want it. So I find somebody's MSN, and people were doing group chats. So you could have up to 20 people, if I remember well, in a group chat. I forgot, on MSN. And what they would do, they would take the album. So the first album had 20 tracks, if I remember well. Let me see. So yeah, 17 tracks with the intro, outro. I would say 15 tracks. 15 tracks in wave. So that's, if you turn everything into MP3s, 128 megabytes. So that's 4 megabytes. 4 multiplied by 15. So that's an album of 60 megabytes. If you can send 20 megabytes you put everything in a zip file, you can have a zip file of 15 megabytes. So you divide the album in 3 packs, part 1, part 2, part 3 in zip, and then you send everything by MSN. Since the file sharing is 20 megabytes, you can sell 3 packets of 15 megabytes, and the whole album circulated like that. So that album was super successful, but on the internet. Nobody bought it. Only the first 2,000 people bought it. And everybody else, they got it online. Mega Upload, MSN file sharing, FileZilla, all these places. And I was like, what was it? I was like, yo. And I heard a voice on my coming from my computer that says, "Hi, I'm the internet." And that's when I was like, all right, listen, this whole business, this whole music business is about to change. This whole thing, everything is about to change. And I start telling people, and people didn't believe me until 2-3 years ago. I was telling people DVDs are dead, it's gonna be YouTube. Music as we know it is dead, it's gonna be iTunes. People one day will listen to music from servers and they will just receive without buying from their phones. And everybody was looking at me like, this guy's crazy. Like, because back in the days we had Blackberries and Palm Trios. It was before the first iPhone that came in 2007. So imagine, I was telling this to people and they will tell me why. I was like, listen, I made the album that everybody wanted and nobody bought it. And the year after, all the albums that I sold, 30,000, like my album, the Sumia album, Eligio album, everything, the sales was divided by 2. And interestingly, most people, the loyal fans, would buy 10,000 albums, 15,000 albums, but your shows will be full of people and everybody knew all the songs. And you'll be like, wait a minute, how am I going in all these countries around the world? Everybody know my songs. I've been in front of probably 100,000, 200,000 people if I count all the clubs that I did and all the countries around the world that I did, but nobody buys these albums. Hi, I'm the internet. People were not buying anymore because they were just receiving music so easily and they didn't need to go out of their house. And this is why Spotify saved the music industry, iTunes, but Spotify really saved us, because with Spotify, it's so much less effort to just buy something $10 a month and you can listen to everything you want. And if you have a back catalog like me, you can generate a lot of money just from people listening to your music, when those people would have not left their home to buy something. I have an ex. She had like 5 PCs running all the time, downloading movies. And I was like, what are you doing? She was like downloading, and then putting it on CDs, on CD-ROMs. I was like, but why are you downloading everything? She was like, it's free. And so it created a new generation of people who were obsessed with having everything. And the first generation of that is my brother. My brother is 35 now. 30 to 30, I think he's 35, yeah. Yeah, he's 35. He's the first generation that never bought a CD. He never bought a CD. He always listened to everything online, on YouTube, etc., etc. And that was the beginning of the change. And those like me who understood this, listen, all my videos, I start putting them on YouTube. Even the albums, I remember people, my distribution calling me from Portugal. Yo, how are we supposed to sell the CDs when you put all the songs on YouTube? I was like, listen, I'm in the future, leave me alone. Good luck. And yeah, the internet. Hi. And I learned so much that day, and it changed my whole perspective on music and in business in general. But a lot of people until today, they still see music as back in the days, and they still want to release music like the old market. The people who follow my lead, or the people who understood it the same way I understood it, they survived.